So, with the new season of Trials coming out, we also get new weapons, and we got one new weapon this season. It's the Immortal SMG. Also, the best SMG in the game. Now, it has the most range, it has one of the most broken damage perks in the game. What you want is go for max range with rangefinder and target lock. Target lock is absolutely broken. It jumps from 22 to 26 damage per shot, and then it just keeps increasing. It's actually kind of obnoxious. I hope Bungie nerfs this, because this just proves another point how absolutely broken SMGs are.
Well, a lot of things have changed since then. And number one thing that has changed is that I love SMGs. I think they're probably one of the most unique and fun weapons in the game. And since Immortal came out, there's been a handful of other SMGs that has the perk Target Lock. And as you know, they recently buffed the magazine size and changed it back to a faster time to kill. Overall, I have been going through some of the SMGs that's shown on screen right now, and I've been playing with them, and today I will review them and tell you what I think about them. Note one thing. I don't think SMGs are necessarily broken right now, but they are very strong. It's like using a sidearm. The only difference is they don't really work well in game modes like Comp, where there's a lot more team shooting. They're a lot more effective in game modes like Trials and just casual 6v6 control. And for very big reasons, and I'll come back to that later. Anyway, here's my Destiny 2 SMG review and tier list. Alright, first I want to go over the perks from oldest to newest, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about them and if something could be better about them, because there's a lot to take away from guns like Immortal. You can't enhance it, so automatically other guns, other 720s with target lock will most likely outcompete it. And something about Immortal specifically, in every gun before Unending Tempest, they do not have deterministic recoil. So there's another thing that you need to remember. And I just want to talk about for example, the zoom stat. I really like high zoom, but on some guns, like Immortal, you lose out on range, because the higher the zoom is, the more consistent it feels from further away. And that will be very important in a lot of gunfights, believe it or not. But it's also just what you choose to value. If you choose to play with PKs, you can just add plus 50 on every SMG. So I would always have 100 on my Immortal, for example. And let's say you necessarily don't want to use the new mods, and instead of going with one of these mods, you choose to go with ballistics on the newer guns. And instead of going with ballistics, you don't really think it matters much. You can go with high optics, because it makes the gun feel better overall, at least on the longer gunfights. But some adept weapons, you just go with adept range, like Immortal. Overall, Immortal really do have a solid combo. You don't even need to go target lock, you can go kill clip, and you don't even need to go keep away, you can go rangefinder. Like, those 4 traits right here are solid on an SMG, and overall, I will still rank Immortal as one of the better ones out there, because what you're going to see in a little bit is a lot of them are pretty shit. Next one on the list is Syncopation. I had high hopes for this one. The only problem is, it's really hard to farm for, because you have to spend most of your time inside of Neomuna, and the drop rates are pretty ass, and getting the god roll out of all the traits you have here is pretty hard. I am going for this roll specifically if I ever choose to farm for it. It has 17 zoom, so of course I will be playing with PKs. This is also another older gun, so it has undeterministic recoil, and it has no enhanceable traits, which is very unfortunate. Overall, it's a pretty mid one compared to the other precision ones, so I'm gonna rank it a little bit low. No survivors. This is a great one. I really love the feel of this one, and overall, if it wasn't a Ghost of the Deep drop, I would actually farm for this. Sadly though, it is. And overall, I think 720s feel pretty good, and compared to the other 720s in the energy slot, this one is definitely the best one in the game, in my opinion. Now, you can say Aikilos is in the game, but Aikilos sadly doesn't have target lock. If it ever returns with target lock, Aikilos will for sure be the best one. But so far, I think No Survivors genuinely is the best one in the game. But SMGs are very, very opinionated, I say. Showrunner, I don't even need to rank this one. This thing is really shit. I don't know what it is with it, but it just feels like ass. And if you compare it to something like Multimac, which we'll come back to later, it's just the overall better option. There's really no reason to use this or get this whatsoever. And overall, it's just mid as fuck. Prolonged Engagement is actually one of the SMGs I wanted, mainly because it's a Viced SMG. And for some reason, they just feel really good. Maybe because they have such high stability compared to other ones. But this one is the first one that has enhanceable traits. And overall, it feels pretty good, especially on controller, which is where I've been using it the most. And this is the role I want. But of course, there's one thing to keep in mind, I'm never going to get this, because it's a Crucible drop, or a Strike drop. So it has so many traits that you can get between, and if I'm only looking for Killing Wind and Target Lock, I'm just never going to see that role specifically. Killing Wind is pretty obvious because it's lightweight, and it doesn't have the most range in the world. And overall, this is what I'm going with, Ballistic, and a range masterwork, max range with Killing Wind, Target Lock. I hope that I will one day obtain this, but for now, I have not. It feels really similar to Funnel Web, if you've ever used that one. Rapacious Appetite. It's a very controversial one. A lot of people really dislike it. This is the current role I have, and it feels pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Compared to my Immortal, it kind of just feels the same, but the difference is when I don't have any abilities up, I get a lot more stability. And let's say I just used an ability, I suddenly get more range. If I used a different ability, I almost get max stats completely. So overall, this thing feels amazing when you have well-rounded and unsated hunger up, but you know, it isn't something you're gonna have up constantly, but you can get it up a lot if you use the right things. I was using this with Bacchus, and overall it felt really nice. Bacchus does not proc well-rounded though, so you're gonna have to hit someone with an ability. Using this with a knife that you can throw across the map, which can also give you Radiant, makes it even better. So when you have Radiant and well-rounded and Target Lock, it's a 0.5 on tier 3, but it's a 6.7 overall, so most people are going to be around tier 9 to tier 7, so just keep that in mind when you use Target Lock. Because technically, Target Lock shouldn't kill faster when they're tier 10 and tier 9, but there is something weird about Target Lock right now, and I don't know if it's bugged or not, but it seems to just not care about anyone's resell, from personal experience and personal use. The next one is going to be Unending Tempest. This is of course not the role I would go for, and why I say that is because it has a perk called My Dare Focus, which gives you 10 range from shooting someone, meaning I can go lower range, aka what I like to do is go with the higher optics. This is the role I'm using currently, and it feels amazing, genuinely. Having the 15 zoom, and then get a Killing Wind kill, also gives me range, but a range scaler, which is very important to remember with Killing Wind specifically. It does increase the range past the actual cap of range, which would be like a little bit under what you currently see. You can check it on Shayura's Wrath by going Keep Away. So max range on an SMG would be 23.5, but since you have Killing Wind up, you get 24.7, and the extra zoom will help that if you're ever in that long of a gunfight. And Target Lock also makes your gun feel more consistent further away because you're constantly increasing your damage. So the higher zoom is very recommended when using Target Lock, mainly because if you're going to hit more bullets from further away, you're going to nuke them from further away, essentially. I think this is the best, but some people also might say Shayura's is just as good, and I can completely agree with that. But I also play Stasis, so the mods definitely help out a lot. But it's really just preference. If you prefer Shayura's or if you prefer Unending Tempest more, that's completely up to you. But Shayura's Wrath has a better perk compared to Unending Tempest, in my opinion, and that would be Zen Moment. And any gun with Zen Moment just eliminates the whole stability factor of the gun. You can run 2 stability and have Zen Moment, and it's going to feel amazing. Multimac is the next one, and this is not the role I've been using. I've been using this role, but with high optics. And honestly, I definitely feel the range drop off, but the good thing about this is it absolutely just melts people from further away. Now this thing only has 20 meters, which is just the unfortunate part when you don't go Iron Reach with, ballistic. But honestly, I don't even mind it. Target Lock is a great trait because it increases your damage over time, and you can use this really on any class. Having the 17 zoom multi-mag back feels amazing. So I would definitely give this a try if you have it, or if you were able to get your hands on it. I also have this roll, but I'm on mouse and keyboard, and honestly, I prefer Rangefinder more. It's a personal thing though, but Recluse, the gun of disappointment, if anything. The thing about Recluse itself is not necessarily the traits are that bad, it's the zoom first of all. If it had Rangefinder in this column, I would have loved this thing way more than I did. Now, the role I've mainly been using is going to be Desperate Measures and like Threat Detector. The role I've been using the most is going to be a Subsistence with Surrounded. And this is the exact role that I have been using. And whenever you proc Surrounded, it actually just nukes someone. But it's more of how often you're proccing it. This is definitely a PvE role, and I would recommend going with Master of Arms, Desperate Measures, or Target Lock over any of this. But overall, I just wish I had a better third trait. The fourth trait are awesome. It's Desperate Measures, Master of Arms, Frenzy if you like that, even the Stabilizing Rounds if you're playing Void Hunter. This is going to come in handy next season, Repulsor Brace and Destabilizing Rounds. But overall, it's not as good as Multi-Mag. Then again, this is an Energy SMG, and I think it's the only one we have with Target Lock that is lightweight. And I would recommend using it if you like Recluse. It feels amazing, and it's up to you if you like to go with ballistics or high optics. This gun might really need the high optics, mainly because it's a 14 zoom, 13 zoom, but, you know, it's preference at the end of the day. Adjudicator, it's a weird one, because it felt really nice. It still feels really nice. It's actually one of my favorite feeling SMGs. The only problem is, the second they're not close to you, the gun kind of feels like ass. And the reason I say that is because it's another 13 zoom SMG. And genuinely, the fact that it's such a low zoom makes the gun really, really whack. I feel like you need higher zoom for it to even be a good one in gunfights. It has probably one of the best origin traits too, which is crossing over. It's essentially Target Lock. You can also pair with Target Lock. And you can also get Rangefinder. So, if you can get this roll right here, I would recommend using it, because it's probably going to be one of the best SMGs that you ever use, if you like the scope. If you don't like the scope, I would just use Unending Tempest. But, I really like this, and I would recommend using it, but I do not think it competes to either Shayura's Wrath or Unending Tempest. I'm going to be so real. But it's definitely a good option if you like doing Prophecy. Next one is Imminence. The Roller's Wet Dream. That's what I like to call it. I do not like the scope. I do not like the feel of the gun, but overall it's the best one out of all of them, technically. This thing on paper is better than Multi-Mag. It has a 14 zoom, so not necessarily. Multi-Mag is a 15, which is probably why I like it more. It has Target Lock, it has Fragile Focus, so whenever you have Overshield, you have a 96 range. For a lightweight, that's insane. And genuinely, if you use Roller, even still, you can go with Slice, an even better perk. You can go Slice Target Lock. You increase your damage, and you decrease their damage. If you, for example, dodge before an engagement, or do any of that. Slice is so underrated, and it's insane how fucking good it is. So I would recommend to try it out. And my friend really likes it. He can't lose a 1v1 with it, and I'm not even joking when I say that. Shayura's Wrath, the yin and yang to Unending Tempest. Now, Shayura's Wrath has the advantage that it has Zen Moment, as one higher zoom. It also has Keep Away if you want that for some reason. But this is the thing about Shayura's Wrath too. It also has Night Dare Focus, meaning you can take away 9 range somehow, which, you know, is pretty shrimple. I would change just the barrel overall, change it to like Corkscrew, for example, and you have 99 range still. And this is the role I would go for and recommend people to get. You do not need Keep Away, because the Keep Away is essentially Night Dare Focus, but it gives you 30 reload. It gives you the same accuracy cone growth, and of course, it gives you the plus 10 range. I don't really have too much to say about this. This is just a solid overall SMG. I can even compare the two stats for Unending to Shayura's. you can see the difference. Let me take off Killing Wind. You can see the difference in stat. For some reason, I just like the scope on Unending more. For very obvious reasons. It doesn't take up as much on your screen as it normally would. But this is just the holy trinity of SMGs in my opinion. Something about 600s, they just feel better in my opinion. And, you know, the stat monster as Shayura's is, it's insane. Also, Bungie, can you please revert the scope? I would highly appreciate that, and I think most people would. Now, this one's a weird one, because I've used it, and it doesn't even feel that bad. It feels really good, actually. This is the role I would want to get on it, and it's not the role I have. But I've been using, the gameplay you were watching was a target lock one, and it feels incredibly good if you can get your hands on it. You don't even need to go with Pugilist. I have To the Pain, which is not a bad trait overall. Even Heating Up is really good if you can proc it, because it gives you a bit more stable experience. But something about all of these guns here, they don't move whatsoever, because they have the new recoil direction, and it just removes the whole point of stability. The only ones that feels a little bit shaky are the lightweight ones, like Multimac and Imminence, which is the reason that I don't really like lightweights. They just feel more shaky than all the other ones. The 600 ones just feel completely stable, and Recluse does too. Recluse is a special lightweight. But as you see here, there is not really a lot of 720s in the newer era of SMGs in general. It's mostly, at least target lock ones, it's mostly just 600s. And, you know, I love 600s, they feel amazing, so I'm not gonna complain. But, this is the thing. It's really just preference which one you prefer more. Of course, some are just statistically better, like Shayura's Wrath, like Imminence, like Immortal, even Immortal, like, just compare Rapacious, this is with perks. Just base Immortal is just way better. Even though it doesn't have any enhanceable traits or deterministic recoil, it just feels, because it has insane stats. And overall, it's really you who chooses which one is what. That's literally the end of the discussion. Anyway, if you enjoy my videos and like the content that I post and want more from me, I would go and check out my Twitch. I stream every single day, and I mean that. I just have really awful timings. But I hope you liked this video, and I would appreciate a like and subscribe and share your thoughts on what you think about the current state of SMGs and target lock. Anyway, I'll see you around.